If you've been wanting to get healthcare access for yourself, or maybe you've had it before and then you lost it and you figure out how to get back into it, this video is just going to go over things you may or may not know or give you some more insight on different ways you can access mental health for you or a loved one or someone you know. So, the first thing I want to say is insurance is usually number one. It's not always the freest or the cheapest opportunity, but it is the most accessible because you can call your insurance and ask for someone in network and get a few numbers from there. We'll talk about broader ways in a little bit, but insurance is the easiest, for the most part, is the easiest and most direct way to get insurance. Now, with insurance, everybody's coverage is different, so you will need to check your coverage benefits before you contact a therapist or find a therapist because you don't want to be caught off guard. But you can use your deductible. If you have a high deductible plan, then the amount to cost for therapy can be very expensive, um, and sometimes more than paying out of pocket. Now, if you want to pay out of pocket, even though you have insurance, because you find somebody that can give you a better rate than what your cost would be with your deductible, then just know if you find someone who will agree to do that, that you will likely need to sign an opt out form saying that you agree that whatever you're paying them at their cash pay rate cannot be applied to your deductible, so you cannot submit claims for reimbursement to your insurance for whatever you've been paying that therapist if you've agreed not to use your benefits. So that's something people don't really know or have in mind when they make that decision. So, for example, say with your deductible, it's $150 to see a therapist until you meet your deductible or psychiatrist or whatever. And then but you can find a therapist who will see you for $80 a session. So you say, oh, it's cheaper for me to just pay out of pocket. I'll pay that therapist. Well, you cannot submit it to insurance to try to get your $80 back. It won't count towards your deductible. You're just out of the $80, but you did get your therapy and for a lower rate than paying the 150. So it can get tricky, but that is a predicament a lot of people find themselves in. Otherwise, if you have a copay plan, then you just use your copay, which tends to be the easiest. Now, I will say if you have a high deductible plan and you go to the doctor somewhat regularly, if you have some chronic situation you're dealing with or someone that is on your plan, then you may find the second part of the year or the latter part of the year, maybe September and on, if you met your deductible, now is a time that a lot of people do like to enjoy most of their benefits because they can see as many providers as they want for pretty much no money. You can also do therapy at that time. Now, granted, if you need to go, go sooner. But if you have time or leeway to wait and it's not a crisis, then you may can wait till you meet your deductible and get free visits there. That's a time people may try to do more visits because it will be free for you, the provider or the therapist, such as myself. We would get paid our full rate, but it wouldn't cost you any money. Now, the caveat to insurance, if you are gainfully employed, check what we call EAP. Those are your employee assistant program, employee assistance program. These can be really good and they're not talked about enough, probably because the way America's set up, they don't want people to utilize these benefits. But check, write that down, put it in your notes, whatever you have to do. Check your EAP benefits, not just for mental health access, but just general access. They usually have some type of legal aid and different things and resources that are free to you that's already been paid for by your employer that you can utilize for little to no money. A lot of it starts out as free. Now, what they may recommend once you talk to these people, depending on which resource you use, you may end up spending money at some point, but you can utilize those resources for the most part, usually free. Now, when it comes to mental health, there are typically EAP services for mental health that you can see a therapist with. Now, depending on your provider and how cheap they are, you may have limited numbers. I've seen people with as little as 3 sessions, which really gives you just time to find a therapist and get started and established somewhere. Upward. Some of them I've seen as much as 24 sessions, which is pretty good. That can get somebody probably through a year of therapy bi-weekly. And so these again are paid for you by your employer. So you can use them or not, it's your choice, but why not get free benefits? If you're already seeing a therapist and you're just watching this video for educational purposes, you can always ask your therapist if they accept EAP, um, if they're a network with EAP providers, And then maybe you don't even need to switch if you're currently seeing someone that you're enjoying and finding productive. So that is a benefit I think people should look more into are EAPs. If you are in a W-2 full-time position, your company may have it. They may have told you about it during onboarding. You probably didn't care, weren't listening, or they didn't mention it, or they don't say enough about it, and so you don't know how to use it. Go ahead and do your own research. Call a number, look at your packets or pamphlets or whatever you got, and see how to utilize those services because it may save you a lot of money, especially in this economy. Okay. Um, so that usually comes along with um, insurance, but you may not have insurance and you still can use this if you are employed because some people work for a company and they have opted out of insurance because it is ridiculously expensive. Um, and but their provide but their employer still provides these benefits on their behalf, and so you can still utilize them without your insurance. But once you use up the services, it may be an abrupt end because you don't have insurance to continue unless you can afford to pay out of pocket. Now this is what some people would consider therapy for free because you're not paying for it, as well as zero copay. If you are underprivileged or under the poverty line for income, there sometimes other services. Once upon a time, there was a gold card. The county or government, or sometimes the city, depending if you are receiving benefits. Sometimes you can find there are providers who accept Medicaid, so you can also look into that for you to get services. I don't want you to automatically assume you cannot afford mental health care because there may be other options that you're just not aware of because people aren't talking about this all over the internet like other things. So I just wanted you to know that in case you didn't know. Now, when it comes to finding a therapist and utilizing these resources, so you know what insurance you have, you know your copay is affordable, you found that they have EAP, whichever route you're going to go, or you have the money to pay, you're like, how do I find someone? So this is the overwhelming part, and this is the part that usually delays people from starting because you may not know how to pick a therapist or where to find one at that's a good fit. You don't know one that finds that takes your insurance or has EAPs. There's a plethora of directories, and a lot of these make a lot of money because they know it's difficult for people to find therapists. I always recommend calling your insurance, but here are a few other sites. I will give you my opinions based on ones I'm familiar with, whether I've worked for them or used them myself, or just my interaction based on what other clients have shared with me. So, in general, the biggest platform is Psychology Today. Psychology Today, you can narrow down your search similar to what is it called? Mental Health Match is another one. You can plug in your area. You can select by insurance. You can select by race, religion, and a few other things. Insurance provider, if it's self pay, if they have sliding scale, you can narrow down or filter your search to find someone. I hopefully ideally for you. I will say the more filters you use, the fewer options you have, and so just keep that in mind if you're not finding anybody you feel like you gel with. However, Psychology Today, people are now saying is very overwhelming. There are a lot of therapists there, and there's pages and pages and pages. And how many profiles are you willing to read? I don't know, but usually people don't make it past the second one. And the therapist for you might be on page 5. And you just wouldn't know that. But I don't want this to deter you. So I want to encourage you of different ways to go about it so you don't feel burned out or defeated or overwhelmed by the process because the process can be a lot for the average person. Do not feel like there's anything wrong with you, especially if you suffer from anxiety or something else that kind of makes you tend to procrastinate or shut down when you're overwhelmed. Give yourself time. This is kind of like a project. Unfortunately, it's going to take time and you kind of have to know what you're doing. Some people do get lucky, but you do want to be picky. Who you choose to get services from does matter. Having a therapist that's the right fit for you does matter on your journey. So give yourself grace and be patient. Outside of Psychology Today and Mental Health Match, those are general directories. There are now platforms that serve as directories where you can get services. So what I mean is Psychology Today, you can only find a provider, email them, call them, contact them, and then everything else is on you to get scheduled and all those other things, verify your insurance. That's between you and the therapist. There's other platforms, some that take insurance, some that don't. where you upload your benefits and everything. And when you have your profile, then they just give you a bunch of people that match your profile and you pick a couple. They, at this point, a lot of them are doing one they strongly suggest. Some of them have therapists that are ratings. Be Take the ratings with a grain of salt, because similar to like regular reviews, people who have good experiences rarely leave positive reviews, but people have a bad experience wants everybody to know. So everybody's experience with a therapist is their personal experience. So you can consider what's being said, but you may not have the same experience. So these may include ZocDoc, which is um, very popular. To You can find different types of providers on ZocDoc. I think and use insurance. You can find medical visits, psychiatry visits. There's BetterHelp. I BetterHelp does not pay the therapist well, so you will find that therapists do not stay on the platform long. So you may find someone, it may be going well if you have a good experience, and then abruptly you may find that, oh, now I need a new therapist, and that sucks for everyone. I think therapists should let people know, but everybody runs their business the same way. BetterHelp is not really respectful to the craft, to the therapist, but a lot of clients do tend to like it. The sessions on there are only 45 minutes compared to about 50-55 minutes in a traditional setting. So that's to keep in mind. You do get a shorter session on BetterHelp. They do offer other ways. I think they offer scholarships and things like that. I will say BetterHelp is really good at matching people with a therapist, but anything beyond that, use your discernment. Okay. Another one is called Sonder Mind. That one takes your insurance. Again, you put in some stuff. It will give you people that they'd recommend based on what you're seeking therapy for, and you can pick someone from there. Uh, Grow Therapy, which is a new one. You'll keep seeing a lot of them pop up, which is why I'm addressing this too. The difference isn't really how much it impacts you as the client as much as it impacts the therapist. They all pay out different. Some pay disrespectfully low, some pay average, some pay reasonably well. And then how much like the user face works and how much interaction. Some of them you can message the therapist, some of them you cannot, things like that. So there's different things. Um, but you do have options. I think I just want you to know in case you are feeling like, I'm never going to be able to go to therapy. Again, relax and give yourself grace and be patient. Two of the bigger ones for insurance that I would probably recommend the most is Headway and Alma. Those are newer, but those you create a profile. Again, you can find a therapist on those profiles. There are suggested therapists to you, but you can choose. These people have already been verified from your insurance. So a lot of people get upset about finding someone they want to start with only to find out they don't take their insurance or particular plan. Headway and Alma will kind of narrow that down because it's already pre-verified if you've put that in. By the time you pick your therapist, you're only picking people who accept your insurance. So you're already on the last step versus picking a therapist first, then going through all this stuff, finding out they don't have availability, only to start over. I think that is a better and smoother process, and they pay more fairly compared to other platforms. So you may have more longevity with your therapist, which is also important because that relationship is going to be vital to how effective or productive therapy is for you. And so I'm pretty sure if you Google, there's a lot more directories. There's directories based on your ethnicity or religions and things like that. It depends on how specific or particular about those things, which is personal choice. Just remember that having someone similar to you or similar background doesn't mean they're the best fit for you. Just because someone looks like you doesn't mean they're a great person, let alone great therapist. So do be open minded to trying someone out. Read the profiles. Profiles will only do so much, but they may give you some insight to their style or personality, and you can ask questions. And don't feel like you owe a therapist loyalty if you're not getting what you need. I do think you should express what your needs are, what you're wanting, or what you are seeking in therapy, and they should acknowledge and address it. And then you can make a decision after that if you feel like your needs are being met. Is it you? Is it them? Is there some more collaboration? Are you holding back? Those are all fair questions to ask as well. But in general, I just wanted you guys to know there's different ways to access or have access to mental health. Utilize your resources, check your insurance, check your deductibles, your copays, EAPs, check what benefits, check for organizations in your area that may offer services through other stuff that they have grants and things like that. Some churches provide it. So you may be able to get it other ways that you're not aware of. So definitely look into those. And then once you figure out, oh, I can get therapy or I have access to therapy, then the next trial is finding a therapist that's for you. But I think you can do it. I believe you can do it. And if you need it, go for it. You'll definitely be glad you did it.